It should be a streaming service, right? It's a streaming service for federal contractors.
Just go on your TV and click the button to hire this person.
Yeah. I have my random thing for the day, Joshua. The cold open has been built because I went to Taco Bell.
And you got their breakfast?
And I got the breakfast crunch wrap. So I have
Did you try it yet?
No, I haven't. This is a live taste testing. I told her I didn't know what sauce is. She said, "Do you want sauce?" And I said, "I don't know. Do I want sauce?" So I have mild fire breakfast salsa. Oh, it's got to be the breakfast salsa, right?
Well,
the breakfast salsa.
I just like having the regular hot sauce like you would do on your.
Yeah, but I don't do hot sauce. You know me. Okay, so here's the crunch wrap. We'll do a little bit of breakfast salsa.
One, what ticks me off is I actually want one now, and you took it
with the steak.
Telling us.
With the steak.
How is it?
It's not bad.
Pretty good, right?
It's not bad.
Yeah,
it's really not bad.
Well,
it's got rice in it. I was not expecting that.
That's weird. You got the wrong one.
No,
it's not supposed to be rice.
It's a hash brown. It's not rice.
That makes more sense.
It's a hash brown. So there we go.
We'll work on food identification next week.
Breakfast crunch wrap. I'm doing the thing you're not supposed to do, eating on a podcast.
Yeah, it sounds terrible.
All the mouth noises.
Yeah,
great. I'll just make sure that it goes away. Well, everyone, welcome to the Stratus Sphere podcast. We have fun things today. We have a special guest, but this is Joel and Joshua. Go ahead and introduce yourselves because my mouth is full.
Yeah, Joshua Rabe, the owner here at Stratus Services.
And I'm Joel Recane. I'm the director of Cybersecurity and CMMC.
I'm Owen Phillips, newbie to the Taco Bell breakfast crunch wrap and strawberry passion agua fresca. And we are joined today by the wonderful Summer Roseborough. And I will let her introduce herself because I lost my Word document amongst the breakfast snacking.
Hey, I'm Summer Roseborough, and I am a federal contract specialist with RS&H, an architecture and engineering firm based out of Jacksonville, Florida. And we've been going through some CMMC stuff for a while, so excited to talk about it today.
Yeah. So we met Summer at the SAME, the Society of American Military Engineers conference, small business conference in Phoenix last year. We got to chatting for a while, and she very graciously said, "Yeah, I'll be on a podcast." And so that is why she is here on this fine day. But before we jump into our main segment, which is going to be basically a back and forth on the CMMC process from the client versus contractor side, we would like to do an update on some CMMC news. And I have one question for y'all on that, but Joel, do you have any specific updates on CMMC news? I missed the town hall this week, so.
Yeah, there wasn't anything groundbreaking. There's more people getting certified, more people becoming assessors, like a nice kind of casual uptick in all those numbers, but really nothing that's going to change anyone's day to day.
Okay, so, and this might be completely off the wall in a way that is not helpful to anything, but I keep seeing on LinkedIn, there's something called Oasis Plus. What is this? Does this matter? Is this something that we need to care about?
So I do not know the answer to that question.
Okay. I keep seeing other contractors and whatnot talk about Oasis Plus as a factor in whatever it is that they're doing. And so I didn't know if that was something worth mentioning.
So I don't know if you have specific knowledge on it. I have like a limited amount of research I did because it was in the document.
We do have an Oasis Plus contract. It's with the GSA. I have very little information about it because I say we have a contract. We don't have any like work under it or anything like that. So I have very, very little knowledge about that and exactly how it works. I think it's a group that you can go to, get services from these different people, but that's really the extent of my knowledge on that. What was the LinkedIn information?
Well, I just getting posted everywhere. I think it's what they're trying to do is they're helping federal agencies find an efficient way to hire non-IT professional services. So it's just more like a streamlined process of finding and hiring people, and us being an IT company. It probably doesn't really do anything for us as Stratus, but that's what I think. That's the aim is that. And you have to add plus on the end of everything nowadays. So
Yes.
yeah,
It should be a streaming service, right? It's a streaming service for
yeah.
federal contractors.
Just
But it's
go
like the next,
go on your TV and click the button to hire this person.
Yeah.
sign up for Oasis Plus. But it's the new version of it. So Oasis was the original. Oasis Plus is the next generation of that program. But yeah, that's the answer to your question, Owen. Not a very good
Okay.
one.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was like a, like Vanta or whatever is like make your seamless compliance framework, whatever, get this product and then it's all good to go. So I didn't know if it was like a product we should care about or a new governmental process where, they're making things easier. I thought that it was worth touching base on. So
Joshua, were you saying they're offering like CMMC services through there?
No. Well, yeah.
That'd be an interesting idea.
Yeah. So I guess like and maybe just jump us into some CMC stuff, because I'm Summer. You kind of gave us a little bit of information, but I'm really interested in hearing about your guys' process and kind of bouncing off ours. I think like we could say this, like we just finished our third party assessment. Yesterday was the last day, right, Joel?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Joel's nodding his head like he's exhausted.
I'm still shell shocked from it. Yeah, we finished. It had been like a 6-9 month process for us. Just got done, passed 110 out of 110. It's not official yet. It hasn't been put in EMAS and all that, but we can relax now. So very excited about that.
Well, congratulations. I know that's a big deal. We're not there yet. We hope to be there sooner rather than later, but I know how big of a deal that is. So congratulations to you guys. I know that's going to
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I did nothing, so it's
I was going to say, Joshua was in Juno. I was working on PowerPoints, and Joel's like, yeah, we're doing our assessment.
Mm-hmm.
How many people do you have in your company?
There are 15 of us total, and we did an enclave approach to it. I mean, mainly because we still do our IT services that are outside of CMMC and that ecosystem. And so we have an enclave where we're doing the rest of it. And in the enclave, Joel could probably speak to how many people are actually live and active in it.
Yeah, there's 7 in it right now. So it's a very tight scope. It was actually a lot less stressful than other CMMC implementations we've done, just because it was so streamlined and it was our own. So there's no client to make happy. I could just do whatever I wanted, however I wanted. So it was actually kind of fun in that way.
Yeah. Okay, you ready for me to tell our story?
Please, yeah.
Okay.
Please.
So I reached out to the group today. I am not in IT, so I might say things on here that are totally incorrect or ignorant.
Yeah, we'll correct you aggressively.
So I asked the IT group today, how long ago they started this process, and there was discussion like between 2021 and 2023, and so it was obviously different things going on at that time. And it would have been like the very beginning of looking at what we needed to do. So my role in this is my company, we have 1,900 people, and we have multiple different market segments, and one of them is the federal group. And so I'm a federal contract specialist. So our IT team needed somebody to help with this CMMC journey from the perspective of how our group works, what our group is going to need, answers to all of those kinds of questions along the way. And so I became the person involved in that. So for the past I've probably been involved in it for maybe a year now. And I would say that it pretty immediately started to take up 50% of my work week. And we're still, it's still going like that. So we were level 1 in, I think, August of last year. We made it to level 1. And then November 10th, 2025, we hit level 2, self-assessed. And we have contracted with a C3PAO to do our mock assessment and then our official assessment. But I'll get more to that in just a minute. So I guess I want to tell it kind of from the perspective of maybe people who are either in the middle of it or people who haven't even jumped into it, and in the most positive light that I can. But it's a monumental task. And I feel like you don't realize it until you get into the middle of it. So we've got this huge task, all of these 110 controls that have to be met with a fairly large company. And so how do you do that? And so first you have to have the right team of people. So like I said, it's pretty much exclusively IT and our digital practice people, and then me from our federal operations group. And so we reached out to a third party to help us do our readiness assessment to fill us in on any gaps or anything like that. And then we made a plan and assigned tasks to people. That plan changes every single day. We kept track. We have all these tasks, hundreds, thousands of tasks, and how do you keep track of that? And we tried so many different things. We tried ExoStar, we tried Teams Planner, we tried Monday.com, we tried Excel spreadsheets, MS Project. All of them had their pros and cons. We couldn't find like the perfect, Goldilocks solution. So we ended up doing just a bunch of different things. So that's how we've kind of muddied our way through getting through the tasks that needed to be completed. IT set up our environment. We, like you and a lot of others, decided to go with the GCC High environment. And we are doing that through pulled VMs and a higher GPU VDI. And so we have some that are, like me, I don't need to go in and do Revit or anything like that. So I don't need the higher production GPU environment. I can do it more just on a pulled VM with the PDFs and Word and all of that stuff.
Summer, can I ask a question about that process? For a lot of companies that we talk to, some of them have IT, some of them don't, and the process around sort of the compliance pieces of this and going through an audit are maybe outside of scope of maybe a lot of IT. Do you know, did you guys have to do audits before this? Did you have to hire new IT people that were familiar with that process, or did you already have the team in place to kind of get it done yourself?
So we're lucky enough that we have a pretty decent sized IT group. I don't know what audits had been done in regards to any of this stuff in the past. I do know that some of our IT members have sat through audits before. And that's literally all I know. I don't know regarding what, but obviously that history is helpful when you're going through something like this. I do recognize too that we are lucky to have the IT team that we have to be able to put the resources towards it. But even saying that, it hasn't been easy. They've still got their normal things that they have to do. So it's not like we brought in a new team of IT people to help with this. So
right.
It's been a lot. They've definitely given way above and beyond what's needed to get us here. So very grateful for that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I know. I didn't want to derail you, but it's something that we've tried to explain to people is, hey, if you're working on this and you don't have auditing experience, it's definitely a different ball of wax.
Yeah, we have some who have gone through that before, so I know that's helpful to us.
I feel like that's also consistent though with other organizations that we've talked to that are like large scale So for example, the Alaska Native associations, there are a lot of them that do all of their CMMC work in-house and are not necessarily working with third parties to help with the implementation side, just because they have such a robust team to be able to go after and are somewhat familiar with, federal compliance guidelines, even if it's not exactly CMMC, that's just like the next step.
Yeah. And, I can't underscore how much it was helpful to have our third party. We were not in that situation where we could just totally rely on our IT team to do everything. We've relied pretty heavily on the third party to walk us through it. And we wouldn't be anywhere near where we are right now if it wasn't for them, for sure. So we're working through this stuff. You've got IT doing their part with policies and SOPs. I'm sure you guys are very, very familiar with this part of it. And to me, this is one of the more time consuming parts and pieces of it, is that you need policies and procedures for every single thing, all the evidence that's going to be required for the third party assessment, those kinds of things. So I've had to take part in some of the creation of these things. So that was a huge lift on our part too. And I'm talking about this as if we're done. We're not done.
Mm-hmm.
So that you guys wrote all your own policies from scratch then? Is that right?
So we had help from our third party, and honestly, the policies, the IT technical policies and stuff, I'm not exactly sure how that was done. I do know that the third party helped us with it. We had some other policies that we had to update at like a fully corporate level, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we're not just a federal group. Some of this had to be incorporated into our greater corporate policies, for data classification and stuff like that. So there was just there is a lot involved around all of that. It's not like just making the recipe or whatever. It's writing the recipe and telling single thing that you're doing in order to cover all of these things. And I will jump forward and say that this past week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, our core group of people met for 3 days to get ready for the mock assessment. We had 9-hour meetings those 3 days, and going through, starting with the first control and going through all 110 controls. Okay, is this true? Is this how we're doing it? Where is this documentation? Do we have, does it say all of this stuff? And going through that is eye-opening. And like I said before, it's a monumental task.
Yeah, it's exhausting to sit there for 8 hours a day, multiple days in a row, just going through things one by one. I feel more drained at the end of those days than like at any other point in my life. It's crazy.
Yeah.
This is when Joel is specifically happy that our company has 2 less zeros after that employee count.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
It definitely changes things, especially when you have a bunch of people having to work in different ways, right? Like, I don't know how you're doing it. I don't know if, 19 people need to all work in the same environment, but we have bunches of people that are going to be working in multiple different environments. So it complicates it for sure. They were long days. I'd say yesterday afternoon, you could tell that we had been in meetings for 3 very long days, little punch drunk and just, when is this over?
Do you have employees that bounce back from like the doing, work that requires to be working in the CMC environment and then going and working in your other environment then? Or do they kind of stay in the one?
So that's a decision, right? And we're still, So right now we have one project that is totally in that environment. And this is our first project that's totally in that environment. And it's probably been in there for maybe a month or so. So we're seeing a little bit of how it's going. But that's one of our decisions. And it's actually a question that I had for you guys and we met today with one of our JV partners. JV partners are just going to exacerbate your issues, right?
Yeah.
And so we had
It's Joel's favorite question.
I can't wait to hear the answer. So we have had a meeting with our JV partner today to discuss. At first we were like, just going to put everybody in this environment, just all federal projects, we're going to put them in there. And then as we learn like limitations and complications and things like that, we're like, maybe that's not what we're going to do. Maybe we're going to put the CUI in the environment. And if it's a PDF or a Word document, then you can go and you can look at it in that environment, but then you work in the other environment if your work product is not CUI, right? So we're still having those discussions. And I don't know that we'll exactly know that answer until we actually get in there and do it. And then the complication with a JV partner is that if you guys are working if we're working in teams, which we were discussing how to do that today with B2B trust or, all of that kind of stuff, if one team decides to do it all in GCC high, then do we have to do it all in GCC high? And it's not until you actually get into these meetings with people and start discussing it that you're like, oh my gosh, that's another thing that we have to figure out. So to answer, that was a long way to answer your question, Joshua, and I fully answered it, but we will almost definitely have people working in GCC high that are also working in what we call our commercial environment, because they're not necessarily all working on federal projects at a minimum. So there would be no need for that. And then it depends on the amount of CUI that we have, right? If we have one CUI document, is it really worth making everybody work in that environment if we can just use that to go view that CUI and then do our work in the other environment? Do you guys know enough? Have you seen enough to know what companies are doing in regards to that?
Yeah, I think we've seen a couple of things in it, and it kind of like you said, it goes down to, and I'll let Joel give his thoughts too, because he probably has a better perspective than I do. But we have organizations where they have employees that would bounce between a project that has CUI and then back to another project that doesn't have it, and then back to it again. And for them, they decide, hey, it's too much of a pain for us to go bouncing around from this environment to that, this and that. And so they just decide to do their entire enterprise. And I think like when you make a decision like that, you end up pissing off your work staff because now everybody has to jump through all these hoops. And I think that was the biggest struggle that they went through is everyone has to sign this user agreement. The user agreement has to have all this information in it. You use your cell phone, you have to go through and enroll it. And then you have all this training you have to go through. So it just created turmoil, but I think it simplified their workflow. Then we have other companies where we can't get everybody to do that and we don't want to disrupt them. So they've done, well, I think what I've seen more often is they set up an enclave environment. And then if they have any contract that could potentially have CUI in it, they do the entire thing in that enclave.
Okay.
And that way they're just logging in there and all the tools are there. You obviously have the complication of I have to make sure I have Revit and Autodesk working in that environment. I have to have those virtual machines, which cost extra money to have more of them running. But that's what I've seen more so is doing it that way. Joel, I don't know if you have any insight to add as well.
No, that's true. Particularly for our clients being like focused in architecture and engineering, it's really hard for them to kind of untangle their workflow in a way that lets them only operate in the enclave part-time because sure, only some aspect of the design package is CUI, but it all ties together in models and stuff on the back end. And so everything needs to live in the same space for them to do their work usually.
Yeah, if we had, I guess we know that if any piece of production of it is going to need to be CUI, then it has to be done in that environment. But we might get like, I don't know, the scope of work is CUI, and then there's a decision that you have to make. And you're exactly right, Joshua. That's exactly what we're dealing with is the number of people that we would have to purchase VDIs for and GCC high licenses for and Revit licenses for, and the list goes on and on and on when you decide to do that. So it's just not a simple answer. And like I said at the beginning, we thought we knew exactly what we were going to do, and then we're like, oh, this isn't that easy of a question to answer. There's risk benefits that you've got to go through, cost, benefit, all of that kind of stuff that you've got to go through to make the decision.
Well, and I think we heard similar thing, meaning Joel and I heard when we were at our booth down at that conference, a couple people came by and said, we just finished or are in the process, or the switch just got flipped on our CMMC, like we're good to go now. And they're like, and I can't open Adobe Acrobat because we didn't do our scoping, or like the team did not realize how much this was going to impact all of us. They just needed it to go live. And they're like, so now in my marketing role, I can't do my job at all because those tools are just not functional in this new environment that we're in. So this goes back, Joel's always harping on scoping in these podcasts. And so that, that goes back to square one, is making those decisions of who's being impacted and how much and what your actual day-to-day looks like.
And so one of the things that was interesting to me was, and again, I'm not coming from an IT background, so I don't know, but I had to go back to my team and say, I need you guys to tell me every software that you are going to need in this environment. And then I go back and I take it to the IT team and I said, okay, this is what they need. Let's get this stuff in the environment so that my team can work. The amount of time that it takes to vet these software and applications through our system is incredible. And, like, okay, Bluebeam is not FedRAMP compliant, but because of the cloud. But if we can put Bluebeam in there and block access to the cloud, just all of these decisions that have to be made and figuring out how to get them in the environment and having the right controls around all of them. It's not just, okay, we've got Revit and GCC High, you can go use it now. And so that was very surprising to me, and the amount of time it's taking to vet those and actually get them up and running in the environment in a way that we know is an okay way to be used. And we have testers, like we got a tester from each of our disciplines, and mechanical and electrical and architectural, all of that. And so we have that person set aside to go in and test this. We did use case testing. The assignment was go in and break the system. Tell us what's not working right in it. Obviously, before we're working on CUI, but it's just there's a lot involved behind that. Every single piece just seems like a very time-consuming piece,
and unlocks 4 more pieces.
100%. And the other thing that I've noticed is that if you don't have all the people in the room, all the right people in the room when you're having a discussion, having one person missing from that conversation, you may be missing out on this is what's not going to work with what we just decided that we're going to do. And so that was very helpful this week to have all of us in the same room, because they may not know, like from an operations perspective, that's not going to work for us, or from an application perspective, you can't do that because of blah blah blah. So having all those people who have all that information has been critical. But yeah, you're right. I mean, my next statement on my notes is, when you think you're getting close, you're not. I want to be positive, but I want to be honest too. Like, it's always the last 5% that takes so much longer than like everything else that you've done, but you feel like you're getting close to a solution, and then you find out this one thing that either, okay, we can't even do this anymore, or we're going to have to change this this way. It's a trial and error game from the beginning to the end.
If you were to like go back and do it over again, are there different approaches you would take now that you've done it once?
Yes. Well, the first thing that came to my mind was having more people on board. And that's hard, right? Because people have jobs. They still have to do things. And so I would answer that from a perfect world scenario. Because I'm the representative for our federal team, I don't do architecture, I don't do engineering, I don't use these softwares and these applications and things. And I'm not a PM, so I don't know what you're hearing from the client and things like that. So having people who are intimately involved in all of those processes, that would be an ideal situation. Because there were times when we were going through, I was like, man, I didn't, or I'd go talk to an engineer and I'd tell them, like, this is what we're going to do. And they would list off all of these problems. And I'm like, I don't know that stuff. So, and it really is, the optimal system would be to have everybody involved that knows every piece of information that you need to know in order to get your best solution. And, what we find is that because we don't necessarily have that luxury all the time, we are having to go back and change things, or we're having to, guys had just found out from John that, we can't do this, or we have to have this. And so what happened was, we were getting to a point where we could sit in a meeting and we could talk for hours and we could come up with 15 things that needed to be changed. And if you're having a meeting every day, all of the things that need to be changed or need to be tracked or whatever, we realized we have to have a really good change management plan in place in order to be able to track all of this and to make sure that these things are being taken care of and in a holistic manner, right? Like, all the right people know. And so I feel like as we've gotten farther along, we've gotten better at doing that, at making sure that we have the right people, and knowing that there's probably information out there that we're not considering. So just trying to get that information together.
Was it hard to get executive buy-in on some of these things or involvement on them?
So our CTO is involved. Like, he was in our meetings on Tuesday through Thursday, and that's been invaluable to have him on our side. And the direction that he's been able to give us has been great. The executive I don't have to be involved in the executive buy-in, right? Those are had between others. But I do know that they want to know if we're making this investment, which is a lot,
Mm-hmm.
from a financial perspective, from a labor perspective of your employees, all of that. We just need to know that this is worth it, right? Like what is this impacting? And unfortunately for us, it impacts almost every one of our projects, not because they're a CUI project, but because, as you know, if we're going to be performing on these master IDIQ contracts, we want to know that if we want to give you a project with CUI, that we're going to be able to do that. They've been very supportive of it. We've given them the information that they've needed when they've needed it, but I haven't had to have those conversations.
I feel like a lot of times we'll go into an organization, they reach out, hey, can you help us do this? And they think of it as, can you just flip the CMMC switch for us and get it done? Like, just go make these security changes and then we're good. And not realizing, like, yeah, we can do all that, but that's going to, it's the changes we make will impact your workflow, how you do work. Something that now that once took you 30 seconds is now going to take you like a minute and a half. And I don't know how many times a day you have to do that task, but now it's going to take a little bit longer. By the way, you should probably be doing all these things anyway. They're good security best practices, but you're going to have to jump through those hoops. And I think like a lot of it's like documentation, writing things down, having proof of it. Those are things that even IT people say, yeah, we do all that. Okay, cool. Prove it to me. And they'll go and do it. No. Prove to me that you did that last month or 6 months ago. Well, we didn't write that down or take a screenshot of it. Well, you have to now. And I think those are like maybe the unseen pieces of it that are more difficult for people to wrap their head around and buy into. And then, we can go make all these changes and make it compliant, but now how does this ruin your work, or how does this ruin your employees' work? And how does we end up, sometimes IT looks like the bad guy because we're ruining everything for people, but really we're trying to help you pass.
Yeah.
That's our goal.
So I've tried to be the kind of the softener of that blow, right? Like, we want to let them know, like, and we have, this is not going to be as convenient as it is right now. This is something that we have to do. And anytime I talk to our larger group, I tell them we are trying to make, we, meaning the CMMC team, are trying to make it as convenient for you as we can. And like, sometimes I think they hear like that this is going to be more difficult for you or whatever. And they're like, well, you don't understand, like, that I'm not going to be able to, I can't do that. Like, that's just going to make it too. And I think they think that, like, maybe you guys could do it a different way and it would be easier. And so I tell them all the time, our IT team is on your side, and they are trying, by having these one person from each discipline come in and test these systems and do those kinds of things. Let us know what's working, let us know what's not working so that we can figure it out, and just letting them know, because I'm sure that our IT team feels that. They may not say that to me, but I'm sure that they feel like, now I've got multi-factor authentication on everything that I do, and everything's just becoming harder, and IT is the one that has to, spread this message. So I do try to make sure that our people that are going to be impacted by it know that everybody's on your side, and there are going to be inconveniences, and there's just no way around that. But our IT team has gone above and beyond for our people. So I do want to make sure that our group knows that and understands that.
What is it like trying to communicate that to that many different employees? I mean, it seems like it probably, the more employees you have, the harder it is to make that communication.
So the communication that I've had right now has been mostly with people who are going to be impacted by this, meaning people who had potential, who are working on projects with CUI, who will work on projects with CUI, who will have to work or there's a great likelihood that they'll have to work in GCC High at some point. I think when I sent out the invite for our first meeting, I think there were maybe 150 people on that. And it was really a meeting to say, we just want to let you guys know what's coming, right? The last thing you want to do is be like, and tomorrow you're going to be working in GCC High.
Yeah.
Just the reality of things. And during that meeting, I tried, I hope I did an okay job of letting them know that there's some things that are unavoidable, but we're working really hard to make this as convenient for you as we can. Some people are going to respond to that and some people are just going to be frustrated, and that's just how it's going to go. But we don't have an option. It's not like we're just wanting to make life difficult. But, we have a team working in there right now, and there's been hiccups and things that didn't work like we wanted them to for a little bit. And our guys are right there to help them through it. And I haven't really heard any complaints. So hopefully that's kind of a sign of the way that it will go in the future. But we don't have a large team in there right now. So we'll see how that goes.
I just wanted to cut in really quick because I know Joel has a hard stop at noon. So I just wanted to flip the script a little bit and make sure that Summer has the opportunity to ask any questions that she might have prior to Joel having to leave.
Okay, my one biggest question that you might not be able to answer, because I haven't been able to get an answer to it yet, is how do you certify a JV?
Yeah, so I don't think that there is an authoritative answer to this question. I've done endless research on this at this point, and I don't think there's like one single governing document that says the answer to this question. In general, it seems like there's differences between if the JV is operating under an MOU versus not, which gets into a whole world I don't fully understand. But I think the bottom line is, as long as whatever information system is being used and whatever cage code is associated with that needs to have a CMMC certification, or all, if it's going to be managed on both or multiple people's information systems that are under the JV. But I don't think that there's like a government document that really spells out in detail how all of that works. We get asked this question all the time now, and I've tried so hard to find the answer. And I'm usually pretty good at parsing through government documents to find specifics, and I don't think there is a specific answer.
So I've looked through too and tried to figure it out, and I did reach out. There's on the DoD website, there's like a CMMC page.
Mm-hmm.
They have a contact email in there, and so I did send that email to that email address maybe a week ago. I still haven't heard back, but I was told from somebody, ask your CMMC questions to this email, and these are the people that know, they should be able to tell you. So I'm still waiting to hear back, but I will tell you I think that what you're saying, that's my understanding of it too. And it kind of it goes along with what I've seen, because we do have contracts that have come to us that are going to be they're going to require a CMMC level in them. And they asked us for the UID for our contractor information systems that were going to be used in that project. So that is my understanding too. So if me and my JV partner, we each have our own UIDs, but those are the ones that are going to be used. Those contractor information systems are the ones that are going to be used to access and store the CUI. Then that's what we give to them. Now our cage codes are the cage code of RSNH and the cage code of the other group. So, but our JV does have our own cage code, but we haven't gotten any pushback when we've sent them those information systems. So I'm kind of in line with what you're saying, that they just want to know the information systems that are going to be used.
Yeah. If you get any clarification on that from the DoD, let us know. Cause, it seems like a big oversight in the rule and how all like the language is written. Like someone just forgot JVs were a thing and then was like, oh, oops. So I would think it's going to be handled in like a good common sense way, not force the JV to get certified. Like it just can't, it wouldn't work that way for anyone. But someone from the government should come out and say that.
Yeah. And in our arena, the architecture and the AEC community, like JVs are the way to go. So that's going to be a majority of your people that are working on your contracts. So that was a question. And then, so We do a lot of, I don't know if you've run up against this or not. And if you have, I'm interested in how people have handled it. We do a lot of client meetings at military bases, and we don't have access to the internet at some of those. And I know that a lot of people are using GCC High and they're doing it through VDI, which you wouldn't be able to access if you don't have access to Wi-Fi. Have you guys heard of this from any of your companies? And do you know how people are handling that situation?
We have not run into that. We have clients who work a lot out of bases, but off of always with internet access. So we haven't dealt with that. I don't know, Joshua, do you have any thoughts on that?
So, I mean, wouldn't the surveys are going on with the laptops that are in scope part of the tenant technically fit into that? Is it, or am I misunderstanding that?
So our GCC High environment is in scope, but our laptop is not in scope, right? And I might be saying that wrong. So, but we can't get to, so my CUI is contained in the GCC High environment, but I can't get into the GCC High environment unless I can access Wi-Fi. And we do have clients on certain bases, you know, wherever it is. I don't know if it's for security reasons or what, where we can't access the Wi-Fi. So this is a maybe very minor question, but maybe not, like, you know, because we want to look at our documents and share our documents and work through our documents with the client. But other than having a laptop where you could actually put it on your desktop, which that's not in scope right now, we don't really have a solution to that.
That's tricky. We definitely have clients who have, if you're doing a more complicated scope where you have something like iPads or some kind of mobile device in scope, you can put things onto that and then bring that somewhere. Or people who print, if it's documents you can print. But if you're avoiding those things, that's a really tricky problem to try to deal with.
And it may lead us, these are the kinds of things that as you work through them, you're like, well, we might need to make laptops in scope now. And
Yeah.
those are the things that when I say, like, you think you've got it figured out, and it's like, oh, maybe we don't.
Yeah.
And the situations that we run into is that there's a subset of laptops that are now become part of that scope, and that's how they've dealt with it. Yeah.
Yeah. And we're looking into all of that kind of stuff. Here's a question that I think I asked you guys. I think I asked you the JV question at the conference, and I think I asked you this question too. And I get a different answer from a lot of different people. Allowing someone else in your environment. So if we have a sub who is level 1, here are the two thoughts that I've heard from different C3PAOs. You have a sub who is level 1 and they've done CUI training and all of those required things. Okay, you can let them into your enclave. And then other people say, no, they have to be level 2 before you can allow them into your enclave.
So that second part I definitely disagree with. Like, you can onboard whoever you want into your enclave, and they have to do the trainings and sign the agreements, like they have to meet all the requirements. But letting an individual into your enclave, in my opinion, is totally at your discretion. Whether or not it satisfies their CMMC requirements is kind of a different topic. And we've seen people doing this right now. And our take on it is that during this calendar year, this phase 1 of the rollout, when people only have to self-certify, they could technically be saying that they're self-certifying in your environment, and that's how they meet their CMMC requirements. I don't think that starting when third-party certifications are required, I don't think that will fly for people anymore unless you're willing to let your subcontractor have your environment assessed to get their own CMMC certification. Like, even at that level, it doesn't make sense, and it probably makes less sense the more you think about it. Because ultimately they'll need a third-party cert issued to them, and someone's going to have to assess something to get that done. So that's really where I think that all is going to fall apart for people.
So, but when level 2 certification becomes requirement, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to think through it. Would we still be able to allow those people into our environment to access the CUI if they're level 1?
So
you're just saying they can't become certified as an entity like they're self-assessing to right now.
Right. I think the problem It's probably more of like a contracting thing, is that those all your requirements are going to flow down to them, including that third-party certification requirement. So if you're gonna include them as a subcontractor, they're gonna need a third-party certification. So someone's gonna have to come assess something, and that won't work, I think, for the most part, if someone's working out of your environment.
That's interesting. I never thought about it past the self-assessment phase.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and even in the self,
could they technically onboard them with login on their domain, and they do the background check or have access to it?
so you could, and that's why I think it's like not wrong to do it during the self-assessment phase, because they're just coming into your environment, they can self-assess the controls in your environment, and that's all well and good. It's just when they need a third-party cert, because eventually those requirements will flow down. They'll need a third-party cert, so you need assessors to come in and assess something, and if they're in your environment, is it going to be you again? Are you going to have another C3PAO assessment? Are you going to send your IT team back out there into the trenches after they just did it? So it gets kind of awkward and weird there. I suppose it's theoretically possible, but I don't think anybody's going to want to do that.
Yeah. Again, another thing that I just thought about was, well, not thought about, but just learned was, the certification piece of it for them when you move into that next phase. I really wasn't even thinking about that. So again, I think I agree with you for what that's worth.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, it's
Joel
tricky.
knows everything. If Joel says it is
not
law.
true.
I guess my last question is, do you have any feedback on how to deal with CUI emails that are coming from the government that aren't CUI?
Probably not great feedback. We always tell people just to have blunt conversations with their government. I don't think the government understands the awkward position that puts companies in necessarily, because they're out here trying to protect CUI and follow all these rules, and they have this environment for it. I don't think people on the gov side necessarily understand the implications of over labeling CUI, because to them, everything's complete. They have their own security thing. Everything complies with a million different rules already. They can put anything anywhere. So yeah, we just encourage people to be blunt and like, hey, it causes like problems for us, and it makes things really difficult. And to throw like a banner in your email saying don't send me CUI.
Yeah.
I could say I was on the Association of General Contractors. They had a conference up here, and they had some contract officers with the bases up here there, and that was brought up a lot. Hey, you guys are labeling stuff to CUI. It's not CUI. Now we have to do all of this stuff. And they definitely took that feedback, that they'd bring it back and talk to their teams about it. But I think they're currently in a situation where they're worried about not labeling something when they really should. And so they're overdoing it. And I think they'll probably figure it out over time. But in the meantime, their feedback to us was whether or not it's CUI, if we labeled it as such, treat it as such. So it was kind of like, too bad, just do it. And we've been telling you guys it's going to happen, and you need to have an environment set up to handle CUI. So just start handling it. And I think it goes back to some of what we've told our clients is, hey, if you have a project that might potentially contain CUI, just have your environment ready to be able to handle everything that project might have, because you're going to get so much that's labeled that may or may not be. And that's kind of the weird situation that they're in. Anyway, I know Joel's probably having to jump off right now.
I was just about to say we can.
I won't be offended if you guys want to keep going, but I do have to drop here.
Yeah, but
it's
if
all
you're not
good.
here, nobody's gonna be.
We will.
You'll just be making stuff up.
We'll sign you off, Joel, and then we'll do our wins or positive vibes for the week as we do our sign off. So
okay, sounds good.
Thank you,
enjoy your next
Thanks,
meeting.
Joel.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, so Summer, normally we do some kind of, like when it was Christmas time, what are you looking forward to on the dinner table? Or, what was something that made you smile this week? So there's some kind of positive thing that happened to you this week. That's how we normally wrap up our podcast.
And you're going to make me go first?
Oh, yeah, you have to go. You're the guest.
Okay, yeah, make her go first. Okay, yeah, let's do it. I can go first if you want. Give you 10 seconds to think about it. Well, I got to go to Juneau this week. I joined the Alaska Chamber Board back in October, and I was remote. I was in Michigan at the time, so I joined it via Zoom. And so I showed up, and I didn't know anyone there, But by the end of it, I had met a lot of people, and I had a lot of fun doing it. I was born and raised in Alaska, but I'd never been to the state capital. So I was in Juneau, and I had a lot of fun. The food was terrible at the event, but the event itself was a lot of fun. I got to meet and talk to a lot of people. That was really exciting. I enjoyed that, and now I'm back, and I got to see my kids, and that was fun this morning. So anyway,
I was
I'm glad to be
living
back.
vicariously through you, Josh, because I worked down there. What is this now? 6 years ago? More
Yeah.
than that? So there was an amount of just like, I miss that small experience. I do not miss living there and doing the whole legislative thing necessarily, but it's a fun community to be a part of while you're down there.
That's really cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I do have one. And so I told you we met this week. I know it doesn't have to be CMMC related. It just so happens to be because it's been a very CMMC week for me. But we had our meeting this week. And so I got to meet in person people that I've been working with for the past year. There's just, I don't know, there's something about meeting a person in person rather than having to just speak to them. I feel like it's just a necessary part of things, and it just helps you to get to know them on a different level. And it was really neat. And I do want to show you guys. So when we made it through our level 2 self-assessment, one of the guys on our team made some little gifts for us, and he brought them to us this week. And I just wanted y'all to see, because I know that you guys, can you see it?
Oh,
That's funny.
That's so good.
There's nowhere I can show this mug that anybody would really appreciate it other than
if you put it on LinkedIn, I will repost it.
Okay, I will.
Yeah.
Yes, please do. That's hilarious.
That's so good. That's beautiful. Hey, where's our see-through PAO? Better get on that. Our partners.
It wasn't our see-through PAO. It was the guy inside of our company who did it for all of us who worked on it. And somebody wanted to give one to somebody else, and he's like, they did not work on this project.
Owen, get us some shirts made, and then we'll send them to them too.
We better trademark this quote sometime sooner.
Well, my positive note for the week is kind of bittersweet, but one of my art history professors at my undergrad is moving on from teaching. So he will be retiring this year. So the department sent out an email to everybody who's still like vaguely connected to the school being like, this person is retiring. And so I got to go down memory lane of being in class with Benjamin David, the greatest art history professor of all time, who like made my study abroad in Italy. He did not go with me, but he gave me all the notes. I literally have a map of Italy that he like circled things on in my office. So anyways, he is retiring from teaching from Lewis and Clark College. And I just got to have this like great reminiscent moment of a great professor who really influenced me. So that was my positive
moment. Good teachers are the best. The best.
They really are. Really, truly are. So, well, thank you everybody for following along on our Stratus Sphere podcast today. And thank you, Summer, so much for being a part of this thing. This is a whole new adventure for us. So
you're welcome. It was a lot of fun. Thank you guys for inviting me. Appreciate it.
Of course.
Yeah, thanks for being a part of it. It was nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you guys.
Yeah. So if you have any questions about CMMC or other cybersecurity items, you're welcome to email us at cmmmc@stratus-services.com or visit on our website, stratus-services.com. And until then, we will see you next time. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.